When we talk about the truly great comic books who have graced the medium, typically we'll be talking about those big collections that take into account 6, 12, maybe 18 issues of a given story arc. Every now and then, however, an issue comes along that accomplishes what most story arcs take 6 issues to get to in but 1, providing a standalone story that doesn't need to have all the continuity or the baggage that most comic books tend to have, whether in the old age or even today's. With comics that have started years-long runs, define them or even cap them off altogether, here are the single-issue stories that every single comic book fan out there should do their best to seek out. With that in mind, I'm Ewan from What Culture, and here are the 10 best single-issue comics ever released. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to stay notified. Ding, ding, done. Number 10. Winter Soldier, Winter Kills. Ed Brubaker and Steve Epting's Captain America run is one of the true greats of the medium, and nowhere can its presence be more felt than in the MCU, where the comic has actually inspired all 3 Captain America films to varying degrees of success. Brubaker's run was most famed, however, for resurrecting Bucky Barnes and turning him into the Winter Soldier. Winter Kills is actually all about that shady past and how Bucky deals with it now that he's a hero working for S.H.I.E.L.D. During the one-shot, Brubaker forces Bucky to address his time as an assassin head-on, working with Nick Fury to make sure that the Young Avengers don't stumble upon a Hydra facility that really they have no business dealing with in the first place. There are plenty of stellar issues from Brubaker's run, but what makes Winter Kills so great is the fact that it's self-contained and stands on its own well enough. Throw in some gorgeous art from Lee Weeks, and yeah, you have one of the best Captain America stories without Captain America. Number 9. FF number 17. Taking place just after Johnny Storm's return in the pages of Fantastic Four number 601, FF17 is actually all about Johnny Storm and Peter Parker as roommates, with the whole joke being that Johnny, well, he isn't a particularly good one. Loud, discourteous, and one trip to the negative zone away from being just about the worst flatmate ever, Jonathan Hickman's one-shot is hilarious, and it sees Peter deal with that flatmate that everyone will have had to deal with at some point in their lives. That alone ensures that it has a mass appeal, but the true genius of the book lies in just how hilarious it is, and for fans of Johnny Storm and Peter Parker's iconic friendship, it truly is a must-read. Number 8. Detective Comics number 475. One of the biggest myths in the comic book medium is that Frank Miller reinvented Batman. He didn't. It was Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams, but another writer who had a pivotal influence on the character in the 70s is Steve Englehart, and he's the man responsible for this amazing story all about the Clown Prince of crime and those really comedic, albeit disturbing, fish. Englehart's writings are all collected in the Strange Apparitions trade paperback, with the true beauty of that book being that all the issues collected in it are mostly all one-and-done stories. The best, of course, being The Laughing Fish. The rest, as they say, is history, with the comic going on to inspire a seminal episode of Batman the Animated Series called, surprise, The Laughing Fish as well. Number 7. Action Comics number 775. There are an abundance of classic Superman stories that everyone should seek out reading, but none are as rejuvenating as Joe Kelly's What's So Funny About Truth, Justice, and the American Way. The comic, which was adapted into the animated movie Superman vs. the Elite, sees the Man of Steel go up against that group led by Manchester Black, and while yes, their crime-fighting methods could be considered efficient, they're also decidedly brutal and disgusting. Yeah, disgusting, there we go. Ew. Though Kelly's comic was written to address a phenomenon that had pervaded the medium during the 90s, it's no less salient today. In any case, Superman number 775 serves as a timely reminder that Kal-El is still DC's #1 hero. Number 6. Sensational Spider-Man Annual Volume 2. To have and to hold is a Spider-Man story every webhead needs to read. It is so good, and yeah, yeah, the comic actually released during a particularly controversial time in Spider-Man's history, coming out just after One More Day had completely destroyed Peter Parker and Mary Jane's marriage, among other things that Marvel editorial somehow took an issue with. One More Day was shocking, controversial, and just blatantly unnecessary. To its credit, however, it did inspire Matt Fraction's To Have and To Hold, which is a wonderful comic book about Mary Jane, Peter Parker, and love. Oh, so lovely. The fact the issue even exists is an achievement in and of itself, with it contravening pretty much every editorial edict Marvel handed down at the time of its publication. Fraction goes so far in celebrating Peter and MJ's marriage that he actually echoes the Bronze Age beats that founded it in the first place, featuring a particularly gorgeous moment where the couple are at a frozen New York airport and embrace in a, yeah, look at it. It's just lovely, isn't it? It's just, oh. It's simply wonderful, and a brilliant reply to one of the most baffling editorial policies to have ever made its way into the medium. Number 5, the question number 1. There are plenty of reasons why Denny O'Neil, Dennis Cohen, and Rick Magyar's The Question is the best comic book run ever made, but the chief reason why is the way they transformed Vic Sage for the better. Yes, it's possible, if not downright correct, that there are better issues in O'Neil's run. It's the first one, however, that's perhaps its most important, as it marks the occasion that O'Neil, Dennis Cohen, and Magyar destroyed the character of The Question and build him up again from the ground up. The original incarnation of Vic Sage, created by the late Steve Ditko, boasted an amazing aesthetic, but the character himself was fairly one-dimensional and not particularly compelling. O'Neil changed that, and it started all in this issue, which completely redefined the way we think about superherodom. The issue actually ends with the Vigilante's death, setting the character on a path to becoming a better person and a better crime fighter as well. Because of this, the bad news takes on a unique importance, displaying a watershed moment in a run that, while not exactly short of admirers, is yet to really get the mainstream recognition it deserves. Number 4, Hellboy number 6. Anyone familiar with Mike Mignola's Hellboy knows just how easy the comic is to access, and yeah, it's why the character finds himself on best of year lists, well, every year. Set in 1959 during Red's early years with the BPRD, the Corps sees Hellboy heading to Ireland to rescue a kidnapped child called Alice Monaghan. This being a Hellboy comic, it soon transpires that a supernatural angle is afoot and that the child has been kidnapped and replaced by Grugak, a character that, even though I'm getting the pronunciation probably dead wrong, would come to play a pivotal role throughout Hellboy's comics for years to come, as would Alice herself as well. The issue itself exudes an abundance of charm and horror, the kind that would define Mignola's creation for years to come, as Hellboy is forced to return the corpse of one Tom O'Clanney to its rightful resting place. It's wonderful, and it's collected in Hellboy Volume 3, The Chained Coffin, if you're looking for a place where to find it. Number 3, Daredevil number 191. There are so many seminal Daredevil comics to have released, and yes, most of them do feature in Frank Miller's run on the character. But while Born Again is considered the best graphic novel of Marvel's history, it takes place over the course of 6 or so issues. Roulette, on the other hand, actually bookends Miller's run, releasing in Daredevil number 191 and, well, yeah, being a fantastic standalone story on its own. Roulette actually sees the character of Matt Murdock make his way to a hospital to pay a visit to his adversary Bullseye, who's paralyzed and currently recovering from a fight with Daredevil just a few issues after he killed Elektra. When the chance came to take his revenge, Murdock grasped it with both hands, heading to hospital with a revolver and offering a classic game of Russian roulette with his worst ever adversary. The ensuing drama is anything but gratifying, however, with Miller selling the idea that Matt himself is on the edge and that he could actually be willing to kill Bullseye if it came to it. Lester, paralyzed and unable to speak, is forced to sit and listen as Daredevil ruminates on his entire crime-fighting career. The ending is devastating as it is character-defining, and one that shouldn't be spoiled for anyone yet to read it. Number 2, HELLBLAZER number 11. John Constantine is an absolute gem of a comic book character, and while his relationship with the mainstream DC universe is rocky, to say the least, there's no getting away from just how brilliant his original Vertigo comic truly was, especially during the peak of Jamie Delano's storied run on the character. In the book's 11th issue, the occult Scouser finds himself back near the Tyne in Newcastle, except the city holds a dark past for John specifically. Fans of the short-lived Constantine TV show will probably be aware of the locale significance, but still, there's no getting away from just how important an issue this comic truly was, and how it defined John going forward. Newcastle, A Taste of Things to Come, is told in a non-linear fashion and follows John as he returns to the city where, well, he messed up. It's pretty sad, but still, it's formative too, and a classic Constantine book, and an example of what made Vertigo so compelling back during the late 80s and early 90s. Not that I was born then, but still, I heard it was very good. Number 1, SANDMAN number 13. Neil Gaiman, Sam Keith, and Mike Drinkenberg's Sandman is one of the most important comic books of the 20th century, and one that managed to find an audience outside of the hardcore normal comic book fans. That alone should intimate the book's significance, but of course it had the quality to back it up as well, and nowhere is that quality more evident than in Sandman number 13. Gaiman, situating the comic in the horror genre, was right at home, and issue 13 is just, it's wonderful, it really is. Titled Men of Good Fortune and finding protagonist Death and Dream all the way back in 1389, the comic serves as both a good conclusion to the Dollhouse arc and as a standalone story in its own right. It's truly epic, following the story of a mortal who's given the power of immortality by dreams, so long as they reconvene every 100 years. And with that established, Gaiman sets out to tell a tale of loss, age, loneliness, and companionship. It is truly beautiful, and the comic that every fan should read, even if they're not particularly keen on the Sandman universe, if there are people out there who even exist. And that's our list. I'm really curious to hear what you guys have to say about this down in the comments below, because I'm always looking for more recommendations if you have any. As always, be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and then head back over to whatculture.com for more comic-based goodness every day. As always, I've been Ewan, and I'll see you next time.